Trying to explain this nuance to people between there's no conflict of interest, yet he has breached the ethics code. Can you just explain that a bit more fully in English about where he lands on this moral scale?
Okay, so we have to start at the beginning. When Pierre was named Minister of Economy, he owned shares in 11 companies. He was successful in selling shares in 9 of these companies. He still has 2 companies, one that is in the process of a IPO, and one is in a process of distribution. It's a fund, all right? So it's really not the right timing to sell those shares. If we forced him to sell these shares, he would lose at least $1 million, all right? So, of course, it's a lot of money for everybody. Even if you're rich, nobody wants to lose a million. In the meantime, what we did is we asked Sonia Labelle to be in charge of any relation that can happen between the government and these 2 companies to make sure that there's no conflict of interest in the future. All right, and there were no in the first 2 years and a half. But even if there's no conflict of interest, the code is clear. You cannot own shares in those 2 companies. So it's something special because the guy, Pierre, he wants to sell the shares, but there's no buyer at a reasonable price. So he cannot respect the code, even if he wanted to. So I think we need business people like Pierre in governments. And to do that, we would need to adjust the code. But I'm not naive. I know very well that I'm in a special situation, and I don't expect much help from the opposition to change the code.
You're defending him up and down, saying it's the timing, the pandemic, that he can't sell. Do you admit, though, he has done something wrong? Because you haven't said that really flat out.
But what I said is that he has, as per the code, to sell the shares. He wants to sell the share, but it's impossible. There's no buyer at a reasonable price. So he's doing his best. So what can I ask? We cannot ask people for something impossible.
And how do you feel personally? Because you recruited Mr. Fitzgibbon as a star businessman. You saw him in your cabinet right away. You failed protecting him. He has to leave today, the cabinet. How do you feel personally?
It's tough for me. It's tough for me because, yes, I've convinced him. And I can say it's the same for about everybody at the CAQ. I convinced them to come in the adventure without nothing guaranteed. And so it's too bad that right now Pierre cannot remain Minister of Economy for me. So I spoke to him this morning. I'm sad about that.
I know he will continue, Mr. Fitzgibbon will continue to sit as an M&A. Has he made a commitment to put these shares in a blind trust to you as per the orders of the Ethics Commissioner?
No, because he wants to sell those shares, and that's why I will vote against the report, because there's something that doesn't make sense. The commissary is saying he's got to put the shares in the blind trust, but if he doesn't sell the shares, he cannot be minister anymore. So that's why I will vote against the report.
He could continue as an M&A if he put them in a blind trust without selling them. Why doesn't he do that?
Right. But maybe that's what we'll decide to do in 6 months from now if he's not able to sell, if he wants to remain M&A.